Okay, so it is Saturday the 27th of April, and this is the day after my surgery. I had intraocular lens replacement surgery done on both eyes, and they were the Tecnis Synergy, Synergy implants. Yesterday was a nightmare. After the procedure, everything was hazy like a fog. There were severe halos around everything. Basically, any type of reflection of light, it was just huge halos. When I was driving down the freeway back home, there was these huge, looked like peacock feathers just opening up like a fan, and there's all these strings of light coming up in a big arc of all these different colours like a rainbow. It was quite weird actually. And any ceiling lights, there were just rings around them, multiple rings. I looked up at the moon, there was a huge ring around that, and another ring inside, and another one. Just everything seemed to multiply. The lampshades, they were all multiplied. Everything was just distorted, and it was really, really weird. But I did manage to sort of start to see some changes in my vision in the evening, and I started to be able to read small print on my phone, even though I had to turn up the brightness really to one of the highest settings. But I could actually start to read small print, and I went, wow, this is really good. So that was like the first signs that there was something positive coming out of this. It is a bit freaky because all your vision it really is distorted on the first day. When I looked in the mirror, I could actually make out that the pupils on my eyes were really enlarged. So that's a side effect of the medication that I was on. The drops they put in my eyes, they dilate the pupil. So obviously it does take probably 24 hours for that to get back to normal. I've got a bit of redness on my eyes, but that's nothing, doesn't hurt, there's no pain. I had a bit of a headache last night, but that was resolved with some paracetamol. Colours are the same. I was a bit worried about, you read about these intraocular lens implants affecting the contrast, but so far so good. I don't notice any difference in contrast or colours. Everything seems, it feels like I'm wearing my glasses, but I don't have my glasses on. But my vision today is not 100%, I have to admit. Things are still a little bit hazy. Distance vision isn't super clear yet. It's just a little bit of blur, tiny bit of blur. But I can still make out sharp outlines of objects. But it's all sort of, you can tell that things aren't really where they should be. And obviously it will take weeks or months for it to become completely, as far as you'll go with recovery and improvement. The lights from yesterday, I looked at the ceiling lights this morning, and those halos had almost completely gone. They've diminished in size significantly. I just drove to the coffee shop and back, and I noticed the reflection off cars, because that was really, really disturbing yesterday. The sun reflecting off panels and glass, and they were like huge halos, and like it looked like peacock feather fans to me. But today they've shrunk in size significantly. They're still there, but not all reflections are doing it now, so everything's sort of starting to normalize a bit. But so far so good. I'm pretty impressed with the ability now to read small print. I've been picking up things, like I've got this banana bread packet here, and you can see the the print on it is pretty small. Let me just try to get that focused. Before I'd have no way, there'd be no way I'd be able to read that without glasses, but now I can read everything on it. You know, from about this distance, everything's perfect. If I bring it up closer, I can still read it, but it starts to get blurry about here. So if I sort of look at it on the side on, that's good, and then it starts to get blurry about there. So looking at around about 30 centimeters. So yeah, I am impressed. It's just amazing I don't have to wear glasses anymore. All right, that was just a little update, and I'll do another update as time goes on, just to give you an idea how I'm going, just for those interested in getting implants. And as I said before, I had the Tecnis Synergy. It was a toss-up between that or the Panoptics. There are other ones like the Vivity. There are so many, the Carl Zeiss, the Lentis. There's a lot of different types of lenses. Do your own due diligence is what I really suggest. Make sure that you research the types of lenses that are available and what are the pros and cons, and also the types of ophthalmologists. Make sure that they're very experienced. They've done a lot of these lens implants, because it all comes down to the way they put them in your eyes, how they align it, how the measurements are calculated beforehand. There's a lot that goes into it, and if you go into a modern ophthalmology clinic, you know, they're most likely going to have the most up-to-date equipment too, so that they get really fine-tuning abilities with the calibration and measurements of your eyes, because they make the lenses based off your eye measurements. So it's all got to do with how precise the equipment is to do that. Oh, just another thing, the hospital situation yesterday, I had a big hiccup. In the past, I've had several procedures where I've been under general anaesthetic and never had an issue about being able to leave. They do suggest you have a carer take you home, but this hospital went the next step and said no, that you must have a carer take you home and spend the night with you. You must have a carer stay with you overnight. And I've never heard of this before. I've had times where I haven't had anyone turn up to hospital because I just haven't had anybody available to help me, and they've just allowed me to stay longer in the recovery ward or in the waiting room, and then they'll just maybe for an extra hour, and then they said, okay, yep, you're fine to go. Other times I've just been allowed to jump in an Uber and the Uber taxi driver take me home. But today was a whole different story, and they made a real song and dance because my surgery was up in Brisbane, so I'd booked a hotel in Brisbane so that a carer, because they said you must have a carer, so I paid for a carer with this support service. That was fine, and he was meant to then come along and just pick me up, take me to the hotel and go, because I don't want anyone staying with me overnight in a small hotel room, some stranger. I refused that. But the problem was that the nurse said, have you got someone to take you home? I said, yes. And they're staying with you overnight. Now, I could have lied. I probably should have in hindsight. But I just instantly said, no. And she said, oh, sorry. And then the next thing, it was a big song and dance about, well, no, we can't let you have the surgery unless you have a carer stay with you overnight. And I said, oh, what am I going to do? And it's not illegal for me to have someone, not have someone stay with me overnight, but they made a big issue about it. Anyway, at the end of the day, I had to then pay for someone to take me back here to the Gold Coast. So it was a no-show for the hotel, so I paid a hotel room. It was quite expensive for nothing, and then I had to ditch that carer because he then said, oh, you've changed the contract terms, so therefore anyway, he's made an issue of it, so I had to hire a new carer and pay for them to take me back here so that I could stay home with my parent, who's an elderly person that really couldn't do much for me anyway. But it's a big joke in my opinion. It's well over the top. They're overreaching. They're going into areas where they're not really, they don't have any jurisdiction, but they're making a big thing where they're trying to impose their terms on you, when as an adult I should be able to say, look, I'll sign a waiver to say that I understand what your recommendations are, but I've decided to do this. Yes, it might not be wise or whatever, it might be stupid, that's my decision. But no, they wouldn't have it. Anyway, I'm going off topic here. So that's about it. I'll let you know how I go in the next video. Have a good day.